Hello everyone and welcome to the second of these web videos. I apologize for this one being a little bit later than I hoped to give it to you. But I thought I'd talk today about some of the most common questions that people are always asking me about spirituality, psychology, philosophy, and how they all kind of work together. The first thing people always ask me is, what is the soul? My understanding of the soul is that it is the part of you that makes you you. It is the part of you that makes you unique. It is where your personality ultimately comes from, and it is believed spiritually that it is the part that continues even after you get out of this physical body. So when you die, obviously this physical body gets buried, cremated, thrown over some beautiful place somewhere, and your soul ultimately is the part of you that carries on. People who believe in reincarnation believe it's the part of you that carries on lifetime after lifetime. Some people believe in parallel lives. Some people believe that they go to a heaven or a hell. Ultimately, that part of you that goes on that future journey, it is believed that is what is called your soul. Then we also have this other thing called spirit, because I'm sure you've all heard the definition of spirit. Spirit is the part of you that is connected to all that is. It is believed that spirit is the energy that connects us all together. The best definition I ever heard for spirit was the movie Star Wars. It talked about that, the Force. And Obi-Wan Kenobi in the movie talked about the Force being this energy field that surrounds all living things, surrounds us, binds us, connects us all together. That's why I believe we all abide by the same spiritual laws. So for example, law of attraction, law of karma, law of free will and choice, we all abide by the same spiritual laws because we all have the same spirit within us. So our soul is the part of us that makes you unique, makes us different, because we've all got different purposes to fulfill in this lifetime, because if we're all the same, it wouldn't work. So your soul is what makes you unique, and spirit is what connects us all. And what's amazing about spirit is that because soul and spirit are connected, when you heal in your own individual soul, in your own individual purpose, you're not just healing yourself, but because we're all connected spiritually, you're not just healing yourself, but you're actually healing everybody around you. The other part people always ask me about is, of course, the ego. The ego is the part of us that is the false self. It is ultimately where fear comes from, and it's the part that we are very familiar with. It is the day-to-day things of life. For example, the ego is it loves boxes, loves being right, loves being in control, and it will do everything it possibly can to make you feel safe and protected. So anything that is unknown to you, it will prevent you from experiencing, because it doesn't want you to feel that. It wants you to feel secure, it wants you to feel comfortable. But the problem is that the ego can sometimes prevent you from experiencing really great things, because the ego can also get addicted to negative things, which means ultimately you can find yourself in negative addictions, negative patterns, negative habits, because the ego, you know, you've heard that phrase, rather the devil you know. So the ego gets addicted to this comfort zone. Even though this comfort zone is quite negative, at least it is familiar, and it will do everything it possibly can to keep you in the familiar and keep you from things outside of that. So for example, that can be healing. That's why a lot of people might not actually experience healing, because the ego is actually scared of what would happen if I healed. It's happened to me a lot of times with my clients, when you actually identify what the issue is, the negative belief, the negative habit, and you actually say, all right, you ready to heal? And a lot of times they say, no, I'm not ready to heal, because they don't actually know what they would be like outside of that box, outside of that comfort zone, that habit. Even though that habit is negative, they don't want to experience it anymore. So the ego, we're very familiar with that one. And then we have another thing which is called the shadow self. Now I'm going to talk about the shadow self in a little bit more depth in future web videos, because it's very, very interesting. The shadow self is basically, it is whatever you deny in yourself makes your shadow self get bigger. Now it's called the shadow self. It was coined, the phrase was coined by Carl Jung, the philosopher. And basically it is the part of you that you can never run away from, you can never escape from, just like your shadow. You know, we've all got a shadow that follows us around with us. And your shadow is whatever you are denying. And so for some people who have a very low self-esteem and they don't think they're very good enough, they are denying their light. So their light is what their shadow is. And a lot of people who think they're absolutely amazing and they're just perfect, wonderful, there's holier than thou, martyr types of life, They think they're absolutely wonderful, and they are denying their dark side. And then their shadow is filled with their dark side. The best, I suppose, way of identifying what a person's shadow looks like is whatever side comes out in them when they have been drinking. Because those of you who know when you drink, the filters generally come off, and that side of you, whichever side you've been suppressing, that is the side that comes out. So for some people, they get very happy because that's the side they're denying. You know, they go, yeah, you just want to have fun. And some people, very positive people sometimes get very angry and sullen and get quite morbid and talk about their feelings, and all their feelings tend to come out because that is the part of them that has been suppressed for so long. So the shadow, the reason why it is believed we have a shadow, this part of our psyche, is because the universe ultimately wants us to accept all the parts of us. Not just the good, but ultimately the bad. Because everything in the universe exists in duality. We've got two sides. There's light, there's dark, there's good, there's bad, there's night, there's day. Everything exists in the two parts. So ultimately, in order to love yourself completely, Valentine's Day we had a few weeks ago, and we always talk about loving someone. And all the esoteric books you read about nowadays all talk about loving yourself. But how do you actually love yourself? To love yourself means not just loving the parts you like, because that's easy. Because if you're only loving the parts you like, there's a whole other part of you that you are ignoring and denying. And that part of you is what is feeding this little monster inside of you, which we call the shadow self. And that is when you're in an argument with somebody, there's a side of you that comes out and you're like, where the hell did that come from? That's the shadow self, that little monster. That's like, hey, I'm Niddy, I'm here, haha. That's why we can sometimes surprise ourselves by the actions that we do, the choices we make, the bad things that we do. And ultimately, it gets us out of this box, which the ego would make us believe that we are good or bad. Ultimately, everything in the universe exists in this duality, but to be truly spiritual is about seeing life from that middle perspective. Ultimately, what we call the gray area of life is to realize that yes, we can be good, but we can also be bad as well. And ultimately, when we deny one or the other, we are ultimately denying a part of ourselves, and whichever side we're denying, that's the part that's going to come out when we don't want it to, that little shadow self. And we've all made bad choices in our lives. I know I've definitely made wrong choices, done terrible things, and I'm sure we've all been in that boat. And ultimately, it is about forgiving ourselves. Because when we can start to forgive ourselves and love all the parts of us, we then stop judging, we then stop putting other people into boxes. Because the reason why we judge others is ultimately because we judge ourselves, and we are hard on ourselves, we put so much pressure on ourselves, we put on this perfection ideal that we can never ever live up to. And that is why projection, the law of projection, it's a spiritual law, we project our own issues onto other people. And there's another concept I want to talk about before we go, and that is the concept of the mirror. The mirror is the idea that ultimately what you see in others are traits you have within yourself. So that can be good, and that can also be bad. It's almost the universe teaching us, so if we haven't accepted a trait within ourselves, then they will attract to you the right people, the right events, and they might be bloody horrible, these people in these events, but they are forcing us to confront the part of us that we haven't accepted within ourselves. Because every one of us is capable of the most horrible, most devilish things in the world, but we are also capable of the most loving, most gracious, most amazing things in the world as well. And when we realize and accept that we've got these two parts, then we can begin that journey of loving ourselves. And that is ultimately what I believe will lead to a world peace in the world, is when we start doing that. So I thought I'd leave you with that message today, and if you would like to explore more about this, I'll obviously continue to be doing these web videos. And I will also be doing my spiritual life coaching course, where we look at everything about life. Who are we? Why are we here? What is our purpose? Why do we act the way we do? Why do things happen to us? Health, why do we get sick in the parts of our body that we get sick in? What is the universe trying to tell us? Because the universe is constantly talking to us through our experiences. And we talk about being a mind, body, spirit universe, and yet many of us only really see things from a mind-body perspective. We ignore the spiritual side. And when we can connect all of these together, that's also how a deeper understanding of life will be reached. So I will be doing my spiritual life coaching course again in Johannesburg in April, and I will be doing it in Cape Town in March. And the dates, all the times and things, please go on to spiritcoaching.co.za. And if you'd like to keep track of all the web videos and the things that I'll be constantly posting on various different spiritual matters, then please subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us on Facebook at Andrew Simpson Life Works. Thank you very much for joining me today and sending you lots and lots of love and light. Thank you very much.